Marco Silva was sacked after 1 year sporting CP, left to manage Olympiacos in Greece, and then was hired by Hull City. He was relegated with them, but was given a second chance and was hired by Watford, and then got sacked 8 months later. Then, after all of that, somehow gets a promotion and is hired by Everton, by far the biggest club of the bunch.
Can someone explain how any of that makes sense?
After hanging up his trainers, okay, not completely, Silva began working as a director of football for his former club Estoril in his native Portugal. During his first season at the helm, they opened the season winning just one of their first 5 fixtures, and Silva took it upon himself to steady the ship. Yeah, Ralph Rangnick, that's right, you're not that special. In the case of Silva though, after 16 games on the hot seat, Estoril had suffered just one defeat. They ended the season as Segunda Liga champions, with Silva winning 16 of their 25 league matches. In his next season in charge, Estoril were heavy favourites to go straight back down. They finished in 5th. His third and final season saw them go one better, leading Estoril to a 4th place finish, qualifying them directly for the Europa League group stages. With that kind of success, it was never going to be long before the big boys came calling. And with Silva, the big boy in question was Sporting CP. In his first season, Sporting scored a ludicrous 108 goals across all competitions, finished 3rd in the Primeira Liga, and won the Taça de Portugal, the club's first trophy since 2008. His time at the club, however, ended after just one season. Sporting rather bizarrely sacked Silva, releasing a 400-page document citing they had just caused to part ways with the manager. One of the reasons included in the document was that Silva had failed to wear an official club suit on match days.
What kind of nonsense is this?
This was the first of many weird and unusual endings to his time at the club. After a season with the Greek giants Olympiacos, in which he won the Super League, finishing a massive 35 points clear at the top of the table in the process, Silva was once again on the move. This time, his destination was England, and his reception, much like the weather, was far from warm.
Exactly, what's he know about the Premier League?
What is it? What's he know? It is quite astonishing that they've plumped for somebody like this. I totally agree. It's just baffling. He's not got a clue. He's manna from heaven to be given this job.
Silva's first bite at the English football cherry came at Hull City in 2017, a club at the foot of the Premier League table after 20 matches. They lost 13 of those 20 league matches, had won just 3 games, and had scored an uninspiring 17 goals, the lowest of any team in the league. Silva's impact was immediate, and his reputation as an attack-minded coach was clearly evident as Hull now looked far more competent offensively. Under him, Hull won 6 of his 18 Premier League matches, including a brilliant 2-0 victory against Liverpool, as well as a hard-fought draw away at Old Trafford. Take those first 20 games without Silva out of the equation, and Hull City would have sat comfortably in 14th, with an impressive 21 points from 18 games, just 2 points fewer than what Premier League defending champions Leicester City manage.
What? Nah, I never knew that.
That unfortunately wasn't the reality, and Hull were relegated and Silva resigned from his position. His efforts were not all in vain, as Watford came calling and gave Silva a second chance at top-flight management.
Last night I cried tears of joy. What did I do to deserve this?
Much like his start at Hull, Watford got off to a flyer. Silva flexed his tactical flexibility and alternated between a 4-3-3, 5-4-1 and a 4-2-3-1. In his first 8 matches, which included matchups against Liverpool, Manchester City and Arsenal, Watford lost just once. After a 2-1 victory over Arsenal, Silva's Watford had lifted themselves all the way up to 4th place in the league. Further north at Everton though, things were not so rosy, as they had made the decision to sack Ronald Koeman, and it seemed they had their eyes firmly fixed on Marco Silva as his replacement. Watford made it clear they had no intention of granting Everton their wishes.
Who's that? Voicemail for them things. Trust me, voicemail.
This was a clear point of demarcation in Silva's time with the Hornets. Things were never quite the same after. They then went on a horrid run of form, and by December, all the early season optimism around the club had vanished into thin air. His win percentage before the Everton approach was 36%. His win percentage after the Everton approach had dropped to 23%, with the club winning just 1 in the next 11 games.
What's going on here?
In January of 2018, the same man Watford dug their heels in to keep was sacked. This opened the door for Everton to swoop in and finally get their man 4 months later. And despite the poor end to his time at Watford, his reputation was still fully intact.
I think so. I'm a fan of Marco Silva. I watched him a lot when he come in at Hull. Really liked him. People can look at it 2 ways. I'm a big fan of him, and we mentioned before who's the one team they could maybe take. He has to be Everton's Pochettino. That's what he has to be.
After 13 matches, Everton sat in 6th and had lost just 3 matches. Then came the Merseyside derby at Anfield. Before the match, Liverpool boss Jurgen Klopp was full of compliments for the Portuguese manager, claiming that Silva's Everton was the best Everton squad he had seen during his time in England. After a defeat at the hands of City rivals, they went on a terrible run of form, losing 9 of their next 14 matches. A small bounce back at the end of the season, including a 4-0 rout of Manchester United, at least gave Everton fans something to cling on though. By December of the next season, Silva was hanging on for dear life again, and after handing bottom of the table Norwich their first away win of the season, as well as a 5-2 loss to Liverpool, Everton were left with no choice but to part ways with Silva. Now Silva is back in the Premier League. He led Fulham back to the promised land in typical swashbuckling style, ending up with 90 points, a league-leading 106 goals, and the championship title. No team came within 30 goals of the Lily Whites, and based on early results back in the Prem, it seems like Silva has learned from his previous errors. We'll have to see if that continues, or if maybe, just maybe, his crazy story has a few more twists in store for us.